Now, the bandwagon, as they say, was getting heavy. Everyone started to jump on the bandwagon again.
Portland is not in a position to try to come back, and he should just kind of leave that alone.
Stop being satisfied with mediocre performances.
I don't like it. Plain and simple, I really don't like it. An all-star game just shows how much they just kind of continue to placate the players and their lackadaisical efforts on the court.
You really sparked my interest, and I'm sure that of many others. Alister, Albert, thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to Baseline with Alister and Orane. I am Alister Albert, and of course my co-host Orane Buchanan is right here with us today on another lovely Sunday. We have episode 20 here now. We're reaching another little milestone, 20 episodes in this season, the 2025-26 NBA season, 20 episodes in, which is a really good, little milestone for us. Not many podcasts get to 10 episodes, far less 20. But that's us kind of continuing on and doing what we need to do, and really hitting the basketball conversations really, really hard. So we're here with another one. This one's going to be a little bit of a fun one. We have our usual basketball topics, but two others that of course are basketball related, sport related, but a little bit off the path of on the court itself. But let's see how this goes, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that as well. But first off, we're going to start with the Philadelphia 76ers, which is a franchise that seemed to be very snake bitten over the last couple of years in terms of injuries, in terms of, once you hear Joel Embiid, you just be like, oh boy, what's happened now, sort of thing. Over the last couple of days, he's had an appendicitis in situation where he had emergency surgery in Houston to try to get that cleared out. Appendicitis, I'm doing some quick little research. It says that it takes anywhere between 1 to 4 weeks to recover from. An elite athlete, of course, of his size and everything, depending on how severe it was for him, we can probably expect him to be out for a little bit as the playoffs come around again. The 76ers are, of course, right now in the 8th spot, I think, in the standings in the Eastern Conference. But why I wanted to really speak about them was, Paul George just came off his suspension, the 25-game suspension that he had, and in the 9 games that he's been on, he's played really well, 22 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 2.4 steals, and shooting nearly 47% from free and 47% from the field and 42% from free, which is actually really good. In those 9 games, they're just over 500 though, 5-4 in those 9 games, so just treading above water basically. But with Paul George back, and we would like to think with a healthy Joel Embiid going into the playoffs, with Tyrese Maxey the way he's been playing, VJ Edgecombe, who's been like an awesome rookie for the team so far, I was wondering maybe, are these 76ers like a dark horse? We haven't spoken about them at all this season. And of course, that's because of the injuries and everything that we've expected. Joel Embiid has played 38 games. And Paul George 36. So this is not a team so in terms of availability you need to be scared of. But going into the playoffs with everyone hopefully becoming healthy, I was just wondering if they're a dark horse. So I just wanted to pick your brain on that one, Orane. What do you think about the 76ers this season? At the way it is right now, if they go for the play-in and get the 7th spot, they'll match up against the Celtics, or potentially the Detroit Pistons if they fall to the 8th spot. What do you think about the 76ers? What do we need to think about? Are they a threat? Are they a dark horse? Should we forget about them? Usual question, I suppose.
Well, the 76ers, their best ability is availability, yeah? Joel Embiid. Paul George just coming back from suspension. At the moment, they match up with the Charlatans for the play.
Yes.
Yeah? I'll give them the edge there. over the
Not the
Charlotte
Charlotte
Hornets.
Hornets. Sorry, let me correct you there. They're going to play the Orlando Magic at the moment. Orlando is seventh, so there'll be the seventh and eighth seed. This play against each other. The winner then goes on as the seventh seed. Sorry, just to correct you there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So I'll fancy them there in that first round matchup. But the problem I have with the 76ers has been a problem since 2014. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Since they got Joel Embiid. When they got Joel Embiid, ever since his draft, it was the trust the process era.
Mm-hmm.
12 years in, are we still trusting the process with 76ers?
Can we?
I think
I
it's
don't
time
even
for
think I hear him because he's always on the court and in the media saying trust the process and everything. I don't even hear him saying it as much anymore. So I don't think he believes it anymore himself.
I think the 76ers should move on from Joel Embiid after this season.
Yeah.
Tyrese has shown that he has the potential to carry this team somewhere. He's still young, still finding himself in the league. And I think that Tyrese should be given the keys to the 76ers franchise. All that being said, Joel Embiid is one of my favorite players, but availability has always been his problem. Joel Embiid came into the league injured. Throughout his time in the league, he has been injured. And here again, he's gotten injured for this season. So what can the 76ers do with Joel Embiid? It's giving me shades of Anthony Davis. Whenever he's ready, he's superb on the court.
Yep.
How often do we see him on the court? And doing some numbers, Alister, as you said earlier, 38 games this season. In those 38 games, you're looking at 26.9 points per game, 7.7 rebounds per game, 3.9 assists per game. Over the course of those 38 games, he showed that he's the best scorer for the team when he's fit. He's the best interior defender on the team. He's just the best when he's available, but we haven't seen him long enough on the court to do that. His best season, 2022-2023 season, when he won the MVP title. That year he won back-to-back scoring titles as well. Joel Embiid, whenever he's healthy, is one of the best two-way players in the league.
Absolutely.
Yeah? What can the do? That is the $1 million question. Does the management sit back and say, let's give 1 year? No, I think it's time to move on, and I think this team, in this year's playoff, I think they're good enough for second row. I don't see them passing the second. Just as Embiid's career. For all the great things he has done in the league, Joel Embiid has never played in a conference final.
Yeah. Damn that Kawhi Leonard. That 4 bounce shot that made it, that eliminated them in Game 7, 2019. Yeah.
But never played in an NBA conference final. Never played in a finals. Joel Embiid, I think it's time for them to move on from him. And I think if you ask him about his time, as you said, the trust the process thing, it has run its course.
Yeah.
It has certainly run its course, and I think Tyrese Maxey, as I said, should be given the keys to this team and grow. When you look at their guard position, you have Tyrese Maxey still young, VJ Edgecombe at the guard position. That's a very good guard who you have there. Not the, it's a very good guard. The forward position, Kelly Oubre and Paul George. Paul George is the next one. There's always Paul George. You never know if he's going to be healthy and available. I think if they can keep this team together, get a proper center, I don't envision 76ers going back to Andre Drummond as a starting center. I'm watching an interview with him a couple years ago, and he was on the brink of tears when he said that he was once a $1 million+ player with the deals he was having, and he has fallen huge. He has a huge fall from grace.
Yeah.
When it availability on the court, just how ball dominant he is, and he's just not that type of player that we were once accustomed to. So I think for the 76ers to really grow, show their true potential, show their true talent, is to get a very good center on that team. And I think they can take it from there, and they'll be a force to be reckoned with. But this season, I don't see the 76ers passing the second round.
Yeah, definitely not past the second round. And I think thinking about trying to get a center to replace Joel Embiid, I don't see any other centers out there in the league that they could probably go for. So to me, for them to be able to get away from that huge shadow that Embiid casts, they'd probably have to go down the developmental route and probably get a rookie or get someone, who's probably on the bench on another team and kind of give him that opportunity to go, and do what they need to do. But I think with Joel Embiid probably being left, or they get rid of him and kind of start that rebuild in earnest. I think it definitely changes the identity of what that team would be. This is not a team that would be off the shoulders of the huge shoulders of a center anymore. It's going to be on the backs of those guards, Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, like you mentioned. And I think you're right. I think they do need to kind of get away from it. I think it's cast too heavy a shadow on that team, and I'm going to use that description quite a bit because as big as he is, a 7 foot guy, as and big an outsized character that he is, and an outsized character on the court when he's healthy, the positives when it's the situation is totally ideal. He does so much for this team. We saw him do the MVP season. We saw him win a scoring title. We saw most people say, once healthy, he's one of the best centers the league has ever seen. Very offensively gifted and everything that he's able to do, representing right there Philadelphia. He's such a great player, but it's just unfortunate that he's seen so many injuries and everything. Two orbital injuries, the cerebral palsy issue, not cerebral palsy. I put the name on the mental thing he had some last season, knee injuries, all sorts of stuff. He's just gone through for it all. And I think, yeah, it's really difficult to see how the franchise could progress with him on the squad moving forward. But thinking about this season, right? There is a path for them to kind of at least get to the first round. I don't think they're able to get past whether it be the Detroit Pistons or the Boston Celtics. Playing against the Celtics this season, they're 2-2. There was no Tatum on any of those 4 games, and if they were to match up with Detroit, they lost 0-4 to the Pistons. The Pistons completely swept them this season, and a 14-point difference in terms of their wins and losses between the Detroit Pistons. They handily beat them every time that they play. So I think it's great to see Paul George back. He seems to be getting a little bit of a groove. He had that game against the Washington Wizards where he had the 39 points and everyone was like, oh, Paul George is back. But it's like, no. We saw a guy score 83 points against the Wizards. So, it's just the Wizards. He played the Wizards. But getting that groove and being able to put points up on the board was really good to see. So, they'll probably, take a couple of games from whoever it is that they match up with, providing that they get through the play-in. But it's going to be a situation where we could just look forward to the next year for them and what the ownership and the front office will decide to do moving forward. Because I think you're absolutely right. They need to move on. I think it's gotten very stale. I think they need to kind of just let Maxi and BJ Edgecombe, just spread their wings totally, become the leaders of this franchise. And we've seen what it's been like with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, two guys playing a very similar position who are able to carry a team. I think, the 76ers have a chance to do that with Maxi and Edgecombe. So let's see what happens moving forward. Yeah.
You're saying that Paul George at the 76ers should be second option?
A second option, without Embiid, I'll say yes. Edgecombe has played well. I give massive credit to him. He came on really strong, had a really strong rookie campaign. But I think you want going into the playoffs, you want to have a veteran, running the show with Maxi. VJ Edgecombe, I think, will be able to find his way and kind of be effective in certain spots in certain games. But I think you probably might still want to lean on Paul George heading into the playoffs or play in their case. If Embiid is definitely not healthy. If Embiid is healthy, I don't think so. I think you kind of had to push him towards the third spot, sort of thing. But it really depends on what roster that they have. They will need to have all hands on deck. And having someone like Paul George who was able to carry the Clippers, I know it's a long time back to the Western Conference Finals a few years ago. He's shown the capability to lead a team, and he's not that anymore. But he's still capable to score and everything, and he's shown that since he's come back from suspension. So to answer that question, second option, depending on if Embiid doesn't come back, I think Edgecombe probably still needs to take a little bit of a learning stance with this heading into the playoffs. He is capable, he is ready, but I think as Paul George is there, you probably give him the opportunity to work with Maxi to do as much as they can and give Edgecombe the opportunities when they're available to star. So that's what I'm
Totally agree
thinking.
with you. Agree.
So, yep.
And matchup, you're saying Orlando Magic, if it should end today, Orlando Magic, 76ers, who you have?
Orlando Magic 76ers, I give it to the 76ers. The Magic have been an absolute disappointment this year. I'm not really liking what's happened. This was one of the teams that I thought would actually progress and be really good. One of the top four seeds this season. Paolo Banchero seems to have regressed a little bit. Desmond Bain has come in and he has been really good. He's been impactful. But it seems like, whatever tensions that there is between Jamal Mosley, the head coach, and Paolo Banchero, it's playing out in terms of their productivity. And their fans even calling for Paolo to be traded, which is really disappointing so early on. So I kind of give the edge to the 76ers with Paul George playing as good as he is, and if Embiid comes back, I don't really see the Magic moving forward in the play-in against the Sixers specifically. So yeah,
And they started off promising in the
they
early
did.
runs. They looked good.
Yeah, they
When
really did. It's really really disappointing, and they were one of the teams I was really watching. A very similar. I had a very similar outlook of them for the preseason that I had for the Detroit Pistons. I thought the Pistons would be really good this year, and I thought the Magic will not probably not be what the Pistons are, but they would have been a very solid top four, top five seed. But they just haven't found their footing. There's been injuries on their side as well. The Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero pairing, I thought that would be a lot more dynamic, but it just hasn't worked out this year. So I'm not too big on them this season.
agree with you.
Yeah. So that's it. So let's see what the 76ers do. I think I had the question for this section was, are the 76ers a dark horse? I don't really know if they are. I think it was just a really interesting topic to want to kind of discuss because this is a team we haven't spoken about very much this season. And even early on in the season, some people were saying, no, if these boys are healthy, and that was way before Paul George got suspended, if the 76ers are healthy, they could kind of really pose a threat to some of these teams. But then they just had all of this roller coaster stuff going on this season. And I think it just puts them in a really bad position because they haven't had enough time together to fully gel. And I don't think that works wonders for them with their playoff push. So the 76ers are probably not a dark horse, but they'll be an interesting one to watch for their future after the end of this season and what happens with them moving forward. Topic number two. Oh, before I move on to topic number two, there was an interesting stat that I saw. I thought you'd be really happy to hear this one. Since the start of 2024, Joel Embiid has played 71 games. Ben Simmons, his former teammate, has played 60 games, and Ben Simmons hasn't played for a full year in the NBA since 2024. So just 11 games difference between the two of them playing, and Joel Embiid is still an active player. Ben Simmons is still looking for a contract. So it's really crazy to think of what his availability has been. There's another stat that's out there where he's played 490 career games versus 472 that he's missed. So just over 50% of games that he's played in his career so far, which is outstanding to think about as well. It's just crazy to see, this talent that's just been on the bench, millions of dollars just on the bench. But anyway, that's what their fate is, and let's see what happens moving forward. Second topic, for this episode 20 of Baseline to Baseline, we're gonna do a little bit of an interesting one here. Of course, we're in this media landscape, the podcast landscape. We try to talk about basketball, give our opinions and everything. And one of the leaders in the media industry, the sports media industry, Stephen A. Smith. He's one I think a lot of people in our positions probably look up to in terms of what he's been able to do, graft a career, being in newsrooms, doing the beat writing, reporting on so many different things, covering Allen Iverson as he has so far at that point in time in his career, and now First Take and political shows, YouTube shows, Sirius XM, and everything. Stephen S. Smith is a law unto himself. With ESPN, he's done quite a lot of things. 14 years running, I think he says the show has been number one, and it's off the back of his incredible personality, his knowledge of the game, and everything that he speaks about. But what I wanted to bring with this was, it's just really interesting how it feels like he's always in some drama with past players, current players, other media people, and everything. And I just find it really interesting that for someone who is at the top of his game, top of the industry as much as he is, that there's so many clapbacks that happen between him and other people. There's this thing between him and Jason Whitlock. I don't know if you've seen that. Another former ESPN guy. Who they keep on going back and forth after each other. Calling each other liars and this and that, and name calling and all that sort of stuff. He doesn't have too much of a great relationship with LeBron James. And then recently, last couple of weeks, he and Matt Barnes have kind of traded bombs a few times on social media. Now, Stephen A. Smith is self-proclaimed. He's an island man. He says, his parents are from St. Thomas in U.S. Virgin Islands. He speaks very glowingly about his Caribbean roots and everything. Every now and then he'll pull out the little accent and try to play like he's from the island, like he says. And as island boys ourselves, I just wanted to see what you thought about where he is, some of the things that he's doing in terms of how he responds to some of the criticism that he gets. He had this outrageous moment where he kind of went after the New Orleans Pelicans marketing team for putting out a montage of him with some of his sporting bloopers. What do you think about Stephen A. Smith? Do you think he's like being maybe too petty going after certain people, or how do you see his power in the industry? And I suppose for guys like us in this space as well.
This is one of the reasons why ESPN with Stephen A has been the number one show over a decade. Yeah?
Right.
You have a front and center of that organization that's not afraid to go at anyone, whether it's past, present, any individual it is.
Yeah.
Sports, that's good for their show because people tune in to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
And just deliver his message. You have a problem with Stephen A going at everyone? No, because that's his job. Stephen A's job is to say what he thinks, bring the facts, and just allow ESPN to grow from strength to strength.
Yes.
Get the business of it, right? I'm saying, has Stephen A said anything that's inaccurate? When he talks the facts, when he states his numbers, are they inaccurate? That's where I will have a problem. No, because you're in the business to educate people. So if you're going to say things that's off, then I have a problem. When it comes to the game of basketball, Stephen A. Smith knows the game of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take that. He said that he started out with the Philadelphia Inquiry, a newspaper, as a beat reporter covering Allen Iverson. Yeah? So that's working away from the literal ground up. He's now face and center at ESPN. Also has his show. He has written books before Straight Shooter that his book, Straight Shooter, was what caused the problem with Jason Whitlock. Because Jason Whitlock said that he was lying in his book when he said that he used to play in college. And Stephen said, no, I actually played. I just got injured, and that was that. Matt Barnes is as in history with Matt Barnes and all the LeBron James, we know it.
Yeah.
I often take the side of the journalists because in a previous episode that we did, I said that we're in the business, we're not players. Yeah. So we come here on Sundays and we speak about the topics that we lay out and we state the facts. We were
Yes.
speaking about Joel Embiid a short while ago, saying that I think he should be traded from the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yep.
Now, if we're on a platform and it caught the eyes of Joel Embiid and he came out swinging and said that this channel is nonsense and this and that, what would we do in response to that? I don't know what would be your reaction, but my reaction would be to defend us,
Yes.
defend the platform created from scratch,
Mhm.
and do what. We're not here to slander anyone. We're not here to, in Jamaica, they say, bring down. We're not here to do that. We're
No.
here to get the topic, state the facts, and state our true point of view on the issue. And I think that is what Steve Nee has done over the course of his career. Marky might not be the way you like, because Steve Nee's delivery of things is loud. That's his form of entertainment. Sports, we're in the business of entertainment. Every week we come here and we just speak and we just labor, and everything that we say is like a soliloquy. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
People are not going to listen, they'll find somewhere else to go and get their news, get their information. And since we've started, we've done very well. We're at what? Almost 1,150 subscribers now.
Yeah.
Deep. That's telling us that we are doing something.
Yep.
Eh?
Platform
you have, do it to the best of your ability and be professional. And I give Steve Smith credit for what he has done. People always want to discredit, especially their own, whenever people are rising or reach a certain level. Matt Barnes says that Steve Smith always criticizes or is too critical of persons of the black community.
I was going to bring that up. Yep.
You have to dig deeper into that to see if what Matt Barnes is saying is actually accurate. Because I've seen a lot of issues, but Matt Barnes is saying that the way he speaks on LeBron James, Serena Williams, Kamala Harris, politician, it's not favorable to black people. And then we are not in that environment because America is a place now where everything, well, not everything, but most things, whenever there's an incident, it's always a line drawn, black versus white. I mean, I don't really want to do that, but I don't think Stephen has done that over the course of his career because Stephen is a black man.
Yeah.
But stupid on his part to tear down his own. But that's like asking why liars lie. And Cat Williams said it best. I don't know why liars lie. So if he's doing that, it wouldn't make any sense to me why he's tearing down his own. But he's in a position where he has to speak and he has to speak facts and he has to speak himself. He has to be himself.
Yeah.
The only thing that really I think he went overboard with throughout the course of his career was his handling of the Kwame Brown. I think it was the trade of Kwame.
Right. Yeah.
I think he went overboard, but that was a young Steve Naismith.
Yeah.
He can't shoot, he can't release, whatever. I think that was some borderline disrespectful. That's Shaquille O'Neal's rant when he went at JaVale McGee in Shocked in a Fool.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, from the use your naked eye, see things and say, I think this is going a little overboard. But we are human. We're not perfect. We're going to mess up. We're going to make mistakes. No one is perfect. So if Steve Naismith one or two times has been critical, I mean, that's his job. That's his job. And we are living in a Alister, where everything just seems too petty. You can't speak on anyone. And this is where Draymond Green's statement about the new age media comes in. So because you don't have to stay, the NBA players don't have to stay and listen to what Steve Naismith has to say. They know, like, if you don't want to do an interview, you just go, you start your podcast, and you state what you think about the game. So people know run. People are saying, I don't have to listen to Steve Naismith because he didn't actually play the game of NBA.
Mm-hmm.
If he's telling me something, I'm going to listen to him, and he actually just came off the court. So I think we should respect each other's profession. Stephen A. Smith is a journalist that
Mm-hmm.
knows the game of NBA, and I think the players should be respectful. His thing with LeBron James, he has taken a hit because of the popularity of LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron tried his best not to mention Stephen A. Smith's name in his mouth during the because give him any credit. Stephen A. Smith says he's fine with that, but they still have to talk about LeBron
Mm-hmm.
because he's still the face of the league, he's still the most popular player. I mean, with Steph Curry in the world,
Yeah.
yeah. So they still have to mention LeBron. You're automatically going to get clicks. You're going to get likes. People are going to listen to what you have to say about LeBron James. But in defense, I think it has done well, and you have to give credit to where credit is due. Remember what he did with Shannon Sharp, bringing Shannon Sharp back to ESPN, when
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people wrote off Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
Was his fault. That was can't his name is slipping now. It's not Max Kellerman who we used to do the show with. Huh?
Skip Bayless.
Pete Bayless.
Mm-hmm.
Very critical, very disrespectful. Where's that energy that people have for Steve Naismith that they didn't have for Skip Bayless?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Curly tried to embarrass Shannon Sharp every single day in the months leading up to his departure. And I never saw this.
Team energy. I think with Skip Bayless is a weird one because people just kind of for to a very loose. I'll use this very loosely because I don't think of him like that. But I think people just look at Skip like a clown, and they just allow him to say things and they don't really criticize him as much. Whereas Stephen A, for some reason, a lot of things seem to stick with him. But I think I echo everything that you said there. I think this is a guy who has shown his credentials and how good he is at what he does, and that's the reason why he has the success that he has. I think because now he's kind of gone into the political realm a little bit. He's speaking a little bit of politics. He's kind of dancing around with the idea of probably running for presidency in the next term in 2028. That has kind of brought people who are for and against it. And of course, politics always kind of brings different people and different views to your platform when you're as loud about it. But I agree with you. I think most of the times when Stephen A speaks, he tries to speak in a very factual way. He has his issues with LeBron James, but whenever he speaks about LeBron, he gives him his credit. This is not a guy who lets emotion take him as much when he's speaking factually about the game. When he goes into his emotional tirades, when you see he has issues with Jason Whitlock and all that sort of stuff, it's because he feels the right to defend himself and he kind of goes into that mode. But when you ask him to do his job, to report and talk about what he knows about the game, this is a guy who's brilliant at what he does. And that's why he has risen to where he has, alongside the entertaining portions of his personality and everything that has gotten him to where he has. But Stephen A. Smith, I think, he's getting some flack that is really unnecessary. Because, like you said, I think he's just doing his job. He's just presenting the facts that as it is. I think there's some people who are very sensitive to him, maybe criticizing black people here and there at times. But a lot of the times when I've heard him speak, he's not speaking from a basis of, any sort of hate. He's speaking from a position of what he thinks, where, people maybe have done things not the right way, and he will give his opinion and say maybe they should do it the other way. Like, I'll take this example, and we don't really talk politics as much on here, like, but there's this example of this young politician, Jasmine Crockett, who lost her seat in Texas. So she went up for some political race, and she's this rising star in American politics, Democrat, and she lost the race, and because like Stephen A said, she was focusing on kind of going at Trump instead of talking about the race that was in Texas, speaking about the local issues and everything. So he came on and he said he criticized how she approached the campaign where it was not focused on the local people, and that's why he thinks she lost the race. It wasn't because of she's not talented enough. He gave her major praises for what she did. He criticized how she approached the campaign. And as a reporter, that's what you do. Why did she lose? He kind of gave his perspective on that. People come back and say, well, he's negative towards her or whatever it is, where he just said what he thought, made her lose the race. The stuff with Jason Whitlock, that has gotten personal, and I think they have this stuff that has gone on. Jason Whitlock has even said at one point that he'll be more than happy to sit down and talk with Stephen A. Smith, and air out their issues. I would love to see that happen, but I don't think that'll get the light of day. But I think he's one of those kind of characters where if you have a certain view about him, you're not gonna get past that. You either love him or hate him. And what he does, with sports media and everything, it's highly commendable, where he's been able to get to. He does his acting thing on the side. He runs all these different shows. I think I saw an advert on one of his tweets recently. He's putting out another show. Where this guy gets time to put out shows like this, I don't know, and still watch the game and give his thoughts and everything. It's remarkable what he does, and I think as a black man from the islands doing as he's done, being able to kind of get himself to where he is, he does demand a lot of credit, and praises for what he's been able to do. He's a shining example of what it is when determination and pushing through and, starting from scratch and pushing a platform and yourself, could get you to those higher heights. And, I have massive respect for him in this game. And it's a shame. I just find it a little bit difficult sometimes and disappointed that he goes at people as much as he does. But I think it's his way of trying to defend himself and defend his product, defend his shows, and that's kind of what it is. And sometimes it falls afoul on certain people, especially if they're in the firing line of what he's about to say. But at the same time, like we say, he's a reporter, he's a journalist at heart, and he just reports. He does what he needs to do. Yes, with his opinions here and there, but he is one who tries to be as objective as possible. And if you don't like his delivery, that's one thing, but don't hate the guy for what he does with his work, because he's outstanding at it, I would say. Let's take a break here. We come back with our last topic, which is going to be another little interesting one. But if you haven't heard what we said in the first bits, we spoke a little bit about the 76ers, and we did a little bit of a deep dive on Stephen A. Smith, one of the guys in the industry that is really successful at what he does. So stay tuned. Last question coming up here for Orane, where we speak about Steph Curry and his sneaker free agency. Coming right up. All right, so welcome back to Baseline to Baseline with Alister and Orane. We're going to finish off episode 20 here with another little sneaker conversation. We have Steph Curry, who's been, in the midst of a tremendous sneaker free agency. He's left Curry brand. No, he's retained his Curry brand, but has left Under Armour, where he's no longer under that brand, which he's kind of helped bring to the levels that it was. Whatever disputes that they had with the ownership of that team, he wasn't too pleased about them not being able to get. I think I saw somewhere one of the WNBA athletes, was it? I think it was what's her name, Caitlin Clark. He didn't think that they went too as hard as they could to get her, and of course she was taken by Nike, and I think he just kind of questions where the brand was going moving forward. And of course, he started off his own brand, became a subsidiary within Under Armour, starting off his own brand. He had De'Aaron Fox, who started his own signature line under the Curry brand, under Under Armour. He was on his way to kind of create a really great empire, branding wise, for himself. But of course, he's left the brand, and during this time, he's been wearing shoes from all brands: Nike, Adidas, Anta, Leaning, On Athletics. He's won everything. Reebok. He's done the whole thing. Where he's shown love to quite a few players, and some of the great sneakers of yesteryear and present. And he's now coming up to the end of this season, where he's decided to team up with the auction house Sotheby's in New York to auction 70 plus shoes that he's worn during this season. So some he has worn on court, and some he has worn as he's walked into the arenas, the tunnel walk as they call it. So anything from Kobe's to old Gary Payton's to Jordan's to all the shoes that he's worn during this time. He's auctioning them off, to kind of make a massive impact with whatever funds that he'll raise from that to help kids and other good causes from this. I wanted to ask you, who do you think you would love to see Steph Curry partner with as a brand moving forward? He was with Nike when he ended up in the NBA, drafted out of Davidson, and of course he started off with Under Armour, creating his brand, going on, I think, how many shoes in? About 11 or 12 Curry brand shoes in. I'll check that and put up the correct number if I'm wrong. But which brand would you love to see him go forward with? Because I think a decision is coming soon. This auction to end this season probably signals him making a decision, and it just hasn't been put out yet, or maybe he's still undecided. Where would you love to see Curry end up with his sneaker brand?
Well, you're the expert. You're the expert in this one.
Uh-huh.
From about the shoes deal, I think Nike are in the lead with this one. The
Right,
numbers, let's say 10-year, 850 mil. That's the deal that they're proposing.
right.
But what we in times, three shoes that doing the research, I found out that Curry has been wearing since the first time since 2013, and you know this more than me. The
Mhm.
Nike Dunk Houston Comets,
Now, which one? Say that again.
Nike Dunk Houston Comets.
Right,
You've seen
uh-huh.
him in the
Yes, he wore yeah, I think commemorating the Houston Rockets 4 championships. He wore a shoe that that was put out for Tina Thompson, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, and all these guys. Yeah, yeah, he wore those. Uh-huh.
of the three. My favorite one that I saw and looking at it, I said, yeah, I would wear that one. Is a Nike Zoom Hyperfly. So
Hyperfly.
those
Yes.
built, I think those are built specifically for him. The way he looks when he's wearing them,
Right.
probably first time he's wearing these since 2013. I wonder if Curry and Nike are up to something.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering. I'm wondering. Yeah.
Because when you reach certain caliber, certain status, you don't just go out and do things or wear things just like that. You send a message because I remember when Anthony Davis' time had come to an end at the New Orleans Pelicans,
Mm-hmm.
the last wore was a white shirt with the comments, "That's
That's
all
all,
folks."
folks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that.
When they asked him about it, I remember Anthony Davis said, no, his stylist had picked out. I said,
Nah, that was planned.
go up by accident. And I'm
Mhm.
saying, first since 2013, I want Nike and Curry probably are cooking up something. So as I said, 10-year,
Mhm.
850 million is important to Curry because he's a super millionaire,
Yeah.
wealthy man. I think those numbers look good. The shoes, the styles that he's worn from Nike in recent times are very up to date,
Mhm.
fashionable,
Mhm.
ugly that we've seen in the past that some NBA players were. So,
Yeah.
so I think they're up to something. I think he's more leaning towards that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see, and I think for most of the shoes that he's worn, and the spotlight that has been given to it, I think he's worn probably more Nike shoes than any other brand from the others. He's worn quite a few other shoes from Shaquille O'Neal shoes, from Iverson shoes, um, uh, all over the place. He's been everywhere in terms of the types of shoes that he's worn from different players and times past. But I think, yeah, Nike probably has the edge. The brand I'd love to see him go with though, although it's still linked to Nike, is Jordan Brand. And I would love to see him go with Jordan for the specific reason of, you know, he's considered the GOAT. He's the GOAT shooter, one of the greatest ever to play the game. And, the realm of shooting, he is the GOAT. I think most people say that. Most people as well. I'm in that camp as well. I know you're not. I say Michael Jordan is the GOAT, and I'd love to see him, pair up with, the Michael Jordan brand, the Jordan brand, and kind of put out a shoe like that. And I think the other aspect of it from the commercial side of things, I think the Jordan brand has kind of gone down a little bit. I think, there's a site, I can't remember the name of it right now, where you could see all the different stats of the types of shoes that players have worn throughout the season and the most popular shoes. Jordan brand shoes have consistently been in the bottom of the top 10 rankings. They sometimes don't even appear in the top 10 rankings. Of the most popular shoes. Kobe brand shoes that have been brought back are a lot more popular than current Jordan brand shoes. And they don't have any signature athletes out at the moment. We have Zion Williamson, who had a shoe deal with Jordan brand. His contract has now been released. He'll probably remain a Jordan brand athlete, but he'll no longer have a signature line, and that's of course because him not being on the court as often. The hype has fizzled away. I would love to see Curry go to Jordan, which is part of Nike, and kind of just work alongside Jordan to kind of bring that brand back up. Of course, the thing is with any of these brands, no matter where he goes, it's really interesting because he's what, 37, 38 years old. He doesn't have much playing time left in the NBA. So what impact can he leave on the market as a player, with when he's so close to retirement moving forward? And you want players that will help push your brand moving forward. But I think it'll be really interesting to see which brands that jump on. I think he has a really good chance of joining one of the Chinese brands as well. Um, Anta, which Kyrie Irving is now with, after leaving Nike, and he's the creative director for the brand as well. And Klay Thompson also has a shoe deal with Anta. So, and he's played with some of the Klay Thompson shoes, and he's been very complimentary of what Kyrie is doing with Anta. And then recently he started wearing a lot of the Dwayne Wade shoes from the other brand, Chinese brand Li Ning. So, there seems to be some Chinese flirtation going on there, and the Chinese will throw money at him, considering the GOAT status that Steph Curry has. And if the Chinese throw money at him, there's not very much Nike or anyone else can do. So I think it's more or less of a brand preference for him when it comes down to his decision. But he's had a remarkable run. I think for guys like me who are like sneakerheads or sneaker followers and watch what happens in that realm, it was really great to see. Every night you want to see what he wore, what colorway did he wear, what did he wear, going to the stadiums and stuff. And it's been great for sneakerheads to watch what he's doing. But with this auction that's coming up, 70 pairs of shoes that he's worn, he's hand signed them, auctioning them off for a good cause. I think it does signal him coming to make that decision. If he goes with Nike, I'd be really good with that as well. It's an opportunity to kind of reconnect with the brand that he started out with. And Nico Harrison screwed up, when you see he left Nike at the time. Kind of bring that full circle. And we know Nike has like one of the best marketing departments. Once you see Nike starts to story tell for you in the marketing realm, your brand and your visibility is definitely gonna go forward, and go sky high. I personally would love to see him go with Jordan brand. That's kind of one of the reasons why I wore Jordan shit today as well, actually. Because I think, it'd be really good to see what he will be able to do. I think he will elevate the brand immediately. From there, after, Carmelo Anthony is gone, Chris Paul is gone, Russell Westbrook no longer has a signature shoe deal with Jordan brand. Zion Williamson no longer has a signature shoe brand. We have guys like Paolo Banchero, who is an athlete from Jordan Brand, but he gets his personal player exclusives. Stephon Castle, you have Jason Tatum, of course, who still has his signature shoe deal. He seems to be doing okay and everything. But I think Jordan Brand needs a revitalization. I think a lot of people think that, it's just, yes, of course, it's linked to Michael Jordan. Many people are moving away from who he is and where he was in the game.
Let's say with Curry, it will do more to bring back that status of the Jordan shoes and probably bring more players wearing Jordan brand shoes on the court.
I think so. I think so because depending on, I suppose how his shoes are designed and the performance and everything, he'll have access to, the best performance technology and everything that's out there on the market. It's all depends on, I think, the cachet and his his brand recognizability with Jordan Brand that will probably elevate it even further. I think what people had loved about him is just his relatability, and I think if he could bring that along to the Jordan Brand, this is where they'll probably get an opportunity to elevate even further. So that's probably why I'm thinking. So it'll be interesting to see, in the coming weeks, as the season comes to an end. Golden State doesn't really have too much to play for. I think they're in the play-in tournament as well. The 10th seed in the West, that would be the gauntlet that they have to go through, playing the Clippers, it looks like at the moment, in the play-in tournament to try to get to the first round of the playoffs. They have a lot to look forward to for the off season, but Curry himself has a lot to look forward to on the branding business side with his decision and where that's going to land, him and everything else for his brand and everything. So this was it, episode 20 coming to an end right now. Thank you very much, Orane, as usual. Of course, we spoke about the Philadelphia Sixers, Stephen A. Smith, and of course this Curry brand decision coming up. Let's see where this happens. But we're entering the playoffs. Today is the last day, is it, of all games for most teams, and then we move into the play-in that starts on April 14th. So on Tuesday, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of who's who in the men separated from the boys in the playoffs coming up, and we're going to be following that really closely as we normally do. So thank you, Orane. I hope you have a good day. And we shall catch up on episode 21. We're moving on into it. Some lovely guests we have coming up and everything that we're trying to plan for the playoffs. So stick with us. Continue to join the family and the journey with Baseline to Baseline with Alister and Orane under the Baseline to Baseline network. And we shall see you soon. All right. See you later, man. All right.
Spotlight glow, breaking down the stats every fan should know. Trades, plays, legends in the making. Every headline, no mistaking. Fast breaks, crossovers, highlight reels. What's real strategy, what's hype and feels. East to west, we call it straight. From draft night buzz to finals fade. Baseline to baseline, we cover it all. Big plays, bold takes, the rise and the fall. Baseline to baseline, where passion is prime. Your